Oh, I think I have to go push that button. Give me a second. I'm on crutches today, so it's gonna take me a minute. Hold on. Okay, gotta go make sure it's recording properly. Continue. Okay, all right, give me a sec to get back to my seat. I'm so happy you all are here. So happy to be making cards with you today. Honestly, I feel like this year in particular, reaching out to our friends and loved ones via mail using our handmade cards is going to mean so much this year. So this is really in particular a special year for card making. So I'm so glad you're here. My name is Allie Dosdell, and I work for the company called We Are Memory Keepers. It is one of the American crafts brands. I've been with them in different capacities for 10 years. At this point, I am in charge of managing their social media. So I'm going to interact with crafters like you online, and I absolutely love that. I also am, I guess you could say, the face of the brand, the spokesperson. So I represent them on television at trade shows when we're having trade shows, conferences, workshops, all kinds of things. So it's been really fun. I absolutely love We Are Memory Keepers. And the reason I do is because they always strive for innovation. They look at the craft world and they say, what's missing out there that crafters need or want to have, and they try to work on that. So it's been such a great 10 years, and I'm thrilled to be with them. So we are going to make 5 holiday cards, and we're going to use an absolutely amazing tool. If you don't have it, I really highly recommend grabbing it. It's called the Works All-in-One tool. And it is literally a 12-in-1 tool. I've got it upside down, my bad. So let me give you a little tour of the tool. Is my camera still on? Sorry. Continue. Okay. All right, we're good. Okay, so let's go to the overhead camera, and so I can show you the ins and outs. Oh, we're there. So good, Bianca. Awesome. All right, so the first thing you can do with this is stamp. This is your stamping platform. And this allows you to stamp perfectly every time because it's got spring-loaded. Sorry, mine, honestly, I have had this for so long, and it's been beat up because I transfer it back and forth between work and home, and so that little piece came out. But this allows you to stamp perfectly every time because it's got spring-loaded feet, and you can line this up on a grid here and stamp perfectly every time. All right, so the other things that you can do are obviously cut and score. Here's your blade, and then for scoring, you can flip this over and you can put your paper up against the guide there, like that. So, and then your score tool is right here. So the scores, and it's also a bone folder for when you're folding. So then there's a magical piece back here. So on the back, this is all magnetic. And these are actually for holding your paper in place when you're stamping. Oh, and one note about stamping, let me flip this over and just mention one thing. When you're stamping on this scoring platform here, if you're stamping on cardstock, you don't need to worry about it. None of these ridges will show up at all. Your impressions will be perfect. If you are stamping with a thinner paper, like kind of printer or copy paper, I recommend putting a sheet of cardstock underneath just in case. I haven't had any problems with it, but just to be safe so you don't mess up your stamping impression, just for your information. So back to the back here, these are for holding your paper when you're stamping. This cute and awesome little piece is for making envelopes, for making banners, for making tabs and tags. So this is your guide. It's got your instructions here and your measurement chart here. And it's just a genius little thing. And I'm really excited to show you how to use this. In addition to that, you've got this arm that comes out here. So obviously you can cut up to 14-inch long paper, which is awesome. And then over here, you've got 3 different punches. This one is for your envelope making. This one is for banners and tags. And this one is for your tabs, for like tab dividers. In addition to all of that, you have these pegs that are stored down here in the board. And by the way, I absolutely love that everything is stored on the board, so you never have to wonder where your pieces are. These are for making perfect bows, for making tassels, for making pom-poms, and you just put them in these holes here, and the further apart you put them, the bigger your item will be, whether it's a bow, tassel, or pom-pom. I'll show you how to use this as well, and you just wrap your twine or yarn around and you can make tassels and pom-poms and bows. So I'll show you how to do that as part of the class, but I just wanted to get you familiar with all the amazing things that this tool can do before we start. Okay, the other tool we're going to use is called the Crop-a-Dile. You guys might be familiar with this already. This is our best-selling and most popular tool. It's been around longer than I've been working for We Are Memory Keepers, so it's just a classic. This allows you to punch holes to different sizes, 3/16 and 1/8. It also allows you to set eyelets and washers, and that's done with this part right here. Here's where you punch your holes here and here. And here's where you set your eyelets, and you can rotate these cubes around for different size eyelets and washers and different types of metal embellishments. And the thing about this is, oh my gosh, you guys, the power. This thing is easy to squeeze, but it packs a huge punch. So you can punch through leather, thin wood, thin tin, chipboard, like 20 sheets of regular printer paper, 10 sheets of cardstock. It's just a beast. So it's definitely worth it. My husband actually wants one in his garage. So that might be the stocking stuffer this year. Anyway, so that's a great tool to have anyway. Also, so we're going to use 2 paper pads from Michaels. This is the Holiday Homestead. It's a really beautiful kind of farmhouse style pad, and I love it. It's got also cut aparts like tags and labels and things that you can cut apart to use. And then this is the embossed Christmas embossed paper. It's already embossed for you, so it just adds that extra special touch, and I love it. All right, and then washi tape. I always use washi tape on my cards. So we've got this cute little farmhouse truck, Christmas tree, and like a lovely little plaid combination that we're using as well. And then we also have the twine with the gold infused in there, and then some yarn to go with the class. Okay, we're going for the nice cozy farmhouse feel. All right, so let's get started. Let me show you the cards we're going to make. Here's the first one. It fell over. So each card, I love to have what I call like a hook on each of my cards, which is kind of like just the defining feature, just something real special. And so each of these has a special feature. So this is the first card, and the special feature here is this cute little envelope pocket. And you can put a gift card in there, you can put a photo, you can put a note, you can put a pack of gum, money, cash, whatever you want to put in there. And there's a matching envelope to go with it. And that's one of the things I love about this tool is you can make a matching envelope for almost any size card. The next card we're going to make is this slimline card. Now, if you're not familiar with slimline cards, they're all the rage in the crafting world. And they are cool because they fit into a number 10 size business envelope. So that's kind of fun. So this one, the feature on this is the tabs. So we've got kind of like a booklet going here, which is like interactive. So you can add photos, you can add notes, you can add like an update from your family in here and like decorate it. And so that's kind of fun. And we're going to make these tabs. The next card we're going to make, the feature is gift tags, and that's always a fun thing to emphasize during the holidays, of course. So we've got a set of gift tags back here with a happy holidays embellishment on the front. The next one we're going to do is banners. This is our banner card. So we're kind of taking the traditional Christmas banner decoration and adding it to a handmade card. So that'll be fun. And the last one, this is one of my favorite card designs for the holidays. Just little strips of your scraps of paper to make a Christmas tree. And then for fun, we added a pom-pom and a bow onto this one. So let's make some cards. All right, first of all, we're going to do this one right here with a little pocket for a gift card. And we're going to start with this candy cane paper, striped paper, and that's in your the Holiday Homestead paper pad. And I cut this paper to, let me get that up there, 8.5 by 5.5. Okay, so that's how you're going to want to cut this. You're going to want it to be 8.5 long this way and then 5.5 tall. Okay, and once you've cut that, what we're going to do is we're going to open up the arm on the tool and we're going to score. So I like to take this piece and flip it over when I'm scoring so that I can get my paper lined up exactly where I need it. And we're going to score it at 4 1/4. That's half of 8.5. So just right there. run down and score, and then we're going to fold it. And again, you can use this tool as your bone folder to crease that fold nice and crisp. And now we've got our card base. It's going to open on the side. Okay, so there's our card base. Next, we are going to make a layer for the card. And let me get my measurements over here so you can see. So this is a really pretty snowflake paper that has glitter accents. If I move it, maybe you can see that. I don't know, but it's really gorgeous. And this, you're going to cut it to 3 3/4 across the top and then 5 inches tall. So those are your measurements for that layer. And once you've cut that, we are actually going to add some eyelets onto this card so that we can put our yarn through it. So let's grab the Crop-a-Dile and we're going to punch 3/16 hole. So, and one thing I love about this too is there's a guide right here on the tool so that you can align your paper where you're going to punch it in exactly the same spot. Like if you're going to do, you know, different punches in the same spot. So I'm going to align that at, oh, I don't know, let's see, probably like 1/4 inch. Let me just double check on that. Maybe a little longer, bigger than that, a little deeper. All right, so let's do like 3/8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just punch here towards the top, maybe like a 1/2 inch down from the top at 3/8. And then I'm going to go over here on the other side and do that at 3/8. Okay, so we've got 2 holes at the top. Then we're going to take these silver eyelets, which are in the class list. This is in the supply list. And we're going to set those. So you're just going to place that eyelet inside the hole. And then you're going to put that knob that's coming down out of the top of the Crop-a-Dile into the hole. And then you're just going to squeeze. And you've got your eyelet perfectly set. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And what I love about using eyelets is they allow you to use twine or string without compromising your paper. Your paper doesn't tear, it doesn't weaken the paper. So there we go. We've got 2 holes there. And now we're going to take some twine. And let me make sure that I've got the right piece. Yes, I've got the long piece. And let me see if I can tell you about how long this is. This is about 2 feet, okay? So 24 inches of the yarn. And we're just gonna feed it through these eyelets. And we're gonna go around a few times, and that's just gonna give us a cute little decorative element up at the top of our card. And I mean, twine is great. I love twine. You can use floss. I also love yarn. Yarn gives it that like cozy feel, like I was saying with the farmhouse kind of look. Oop. If you can get it through the hole okay without separating it. There we go. All right, and let's go maybe one more time up through this other hole. And then we're ready to tie a knot. And I'm going to show you kind of a secret, a card making secret that I've learned over the years. When you're adding bows, oh man, I got my pieces separated. That's my fault. User error, I like to say. Okay, let me grab my scissors and get that through. There we go. All right. So when you're at home crafting and making these cards, you're going to be much more careful with your yarn than I was, because I'm trying to make sure we have enough time to get to all of these cards today. Okay, so here's my tip for you. Instead of tying the bow at this point, to get a perfect bow on your card, you're going to actually tie a knot. You could probably go around one more time if you wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and tie my knot this time. Double knot, right over left, left over right. And then just make sure that's nice and secure. And you can actually pull on that a little bit. You don't want to bend your paper, but you can pull on that without worrying about tearing the paper. All right, so let's cut those off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the perfect bow on top of that. So that's how you get a perfect bow on cards, is rather than trying to tie the bow with the string that you're wrapping around, make your bow separate and then glue it on and you won't even know the difference. Okay, so making a bow. We're going to put the pegs here. And I want a small bow, so I'm going to put them pretty close together. Yeah, let's definitely do that. No, let's do one more. Sorry. All right, so 2 holes in between is what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna do a double bow with 2 loops. And so what we're gonna do is go around once. Actually, I guess I have to start this way. Once, and then that'll be twice. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the right piece, cross it over the left, go under, and then bring it around. Okay, so let me show you that one more time. I've wrapped around twice. I started in the front and wrapped around twice. Take the right piece, cross it over the left. That right piece that you just crossed over goes under and back around, and then you tie a simple knot. And that is how you make a bow. Now, of course, if you just want a single loop, then you're not going to go around twice. You're just going to go around once. Or you can go around like 5 times. You can make really beautiful full bows. Okay, so there's our bow. Oops. Put that back together. And I'm going to trim the ends. All right, and there it is. Okay, perfect bow. And then all we're going to do is we're going to take this liquid glue, and you can use liquid glue, you can use a glue dot. There's a lot of options for this. Just make sure if you use liquid glue that it dries clear. And we're just going to add a little liquid glue. And of course, I didn't check my nozzle ahead of time. So we're actually going to use a pop dot this time. And put that right on the knot there. And if it won't come off with my thumb, there we go. And then we'll just stick the knot of this bow right on there. All right. And then look how cute that is. Look at that. And it's the perfect bow, and it looks like you tied it, right, with your wraparound twine, and it looks perfect. So there's your trick for the perfect bow. All right, so once we've done that, now we're going to attach this to the card, and we're going to use the pop dots. And I love these. There are a whole bunch of different, some different kinds available at Michael's, but they're fantastic for cards because they add a little bit of dimension, especially since we've got these eyelets and the twine back here. That's going to kind of help with the bulk back there. But also when you put these in an envelope, you know, to go send it to somebody, it doesn't cause any problems because it can actually kind of squish down in the envelope. So I really like these because they just add a little extra something to your card without causing any problems. So let me just pull these off, and then we'll attach that to our card base. And then once we do that, we're going to make a cute little envelope pocket to put a gift card in. So now we're ready to attach that to our base, and we're just going to kind of center that as best we can. Okay. That's going to want to push that down, and it should stay. Okay. There we go. All righty. Now we're going to make an envelope. Let me move these pegs back where they go. Okay, so envelope. Let's get our little guide out. Oh, I already did. Where did I put my guide? Here it is. Okay, so envelope chart, envelope instructions on the back. I am going to make the smallest size envelope, the 3 by 3. And then it tells me to cut my paper to 5 by 5. So I've already done that. And I am using this paper right here. This is one of the embossed cardstock pieces, a nice pretty red. And that's 5 by 5. Let's see, I do have my paper there so you can see that. 5 by 5. All right. And then it also tells us where to align that paper once we've cut it. And it says here 2.5. So I know to align my paper at 2.5. Now I'm going to use the arrows here and align envelope to envelope on the board. And there are some notches up here that kind of hold it in place, and it's magnetic, so it holds it in place. All right, so I'm going to flip over this because we're going to cut now. Or we're not scoring, but I need to have a flat space right here. So I'm going to get my score tool and get my paper, and again, line up this corner right here at 2.5 on the guide. And then we're going to score right along the edge here of the guide. Okay, and then we're just going to rotate 90 degrees and then align this score line we just made on the score guide here on the tool. And that just makes it super easy. You don't have to guess. And then you just keep doing that on all 4 sides, all the way around, align and score. in the same place. And once you've done that, oops. Once you've done that, then we're going to move over here to the punches, okay, to the envelope punch. This is the envelope punch right here. And you're going to take these score lines that you just made and line them up on the alignment guide here. And then punch. And you're going to do that 4 times on all 4 sides. Now, with this particular envelope, we are not going to seal it shut. If you are going to seal it shut, your next step would be to use the reverse punch on this side and round your corner for your flaps, and that gives it a nice finished look. But since we're not finishing this off, we're actually going to cut off this flap with my scissors because we're making a pocket with this envelope instead of sealing it shut. So I'm just going to follow that score line, go right across. And now we're going to seal this shut. Well, the 3 flaps shut with some double-sided tape. Any kind of double-sided craft tape would do fine. And Michael's has a really great selection of those. Oops, I didn't quite get enough. Right there. Okay. All right. So there's your envelope. We've got that shut. And then you just take your gift card and you slide it in there or whatever you're going to put in there. So let's add this envelope onto the card. And we're just going to put some double-sided tape on the back. And pop that down. Oh, you know what? I did forget something. Hang on. Washi tape. Let me see if I, no, I didn't. Okay, so we're going to use some of this plaid washi tape. And we're just going to put a little bit across the bottom of the pocket to give a little kind of ground that pocket, give it like a nice grounding at the bottom. And you would do this obviously before you put the tape on the back, but again, user error. All right. Put that down. And then for this, since this is going on a card, I'm just going to fold those flaps back. And what I like to do is I have a little bit of extra adhesive here showing. And what I would do with that normally is I would get a little white polymer eraser and just run that carefully over that. And that'll get rid of your extra adhesive without ruining your card. Okay, so now we're going to place this on here and kind of center it down here with even borders on this layer that we previously put down. Okay, so that's ready to go. Your gift card goes in and all we need is a sentiment for our card on the front. So let's take care of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this cutout. So this is one of the cutout sheets that has little tags and labels. And I cut it out. And then all you need to do is round the corners using this punch right here. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, did I trim it up yet? No, I'm just going to trim it up a little bit so it's a little smaller than it originally was, just because of the scale of the card. And you could use your trimmer, of course, to do this. I'm just going to use my scissors because they're right here. And then we're just going to go in and round the corners. And again, I love this has a guide here, so you can't mess up. You just have to pop that in there and it will punch it perfectly every time. Okay, so there's our Merry Christmas. And then let's see, we're going to add that with pop dots as well for a little bit of dimension. I'm just going to put 3 across the back here. And that'll give it a little pop. I think that's probably why they call them pop dots, because it adds a little pop to your projects. Okay, stick that on. That's going to go, right about there. All right, and that's it. And then obviously you can make a card to match. Since this is an A2 card, so this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That's the finished size. So you would just look up that size on your chart on this little guide here, and then it would give you instructions for making the right size envelope for that card. And I used another one of the embossed red cardstock from the paper pad. So, all right, so there's our first card. And so before we go on to the next one, I want to take a pause and just ask you if you have any questions about that card or about the tools that we're using. Any questions? Let's see. Bianca, can you hear me, or can I hear you? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Okay,
Did
I
you
can
see
read some of the questions
anything
for
come
you.
up? Great. Did you see anything come up more than
Sure.
once? Oh,
I would like to know what the name of the double-sided tape was. Um,
I don't honestly, I've had this for so many years. It's American Crafts, I think. It's called Sticky Thumb, but there's a whole bunch of different brands out there that work great. Any double-sided tape is fine.
and some people like to know the name of the tool. It's been called the Beyonce of
There
card
you
making. I
go.
totally
I love
agree.
it. That's exactly it. Totally is. So this is called the Works All-in-One tool. I like to call it the all-in-one tool, but we couldn't decide between the Works and all-in-one because it really is like everything. So the Works all-in-one tool, and then this one is the Crop-a-Dile. Instead of crocodile, it's the Crop-a-Dile. So think of chomp, chomp, chomp. All right, so those are both, and I think they're in the supply list in the class description on the website. So you can, I think they have links there, but it is definitely a must-have. Any other questions about getting a tool? Oh yes, get it for Christmas. And if you have a friend who's a crafter as well, it's the perfect gift for your crafty friends if you need to get a gift for someone. Okay, so and also this is recording right now. So if you want to watch it back, it's going to be on their YouTube channel and I think on their website. So you can go and watch it back, and watch it at your own pace and kind of, pause it and slow it down. So,
yeah.
All right, next card. This is a fun one. This is our slimline card. And it's got the tabs in here. We're going to just kind of make an interactive, fun little, this could be a great place for like an update, family update, family photo for grandma or, for auntie or whoever. So this is going to be a fun one. All right. So let me pull up my step outs for this one. Hang on. Okay. All righty. So let's go through the pieces you're going to need to cut. First, let me get some things out of the way. Okay, so we are going to use 3 sheets of paper cut in the same size. And here is the measurement for these 3 pieces of paper. It's going to be 8 inches across and 9¼ inches tall. All right, so if you want to jot that down, 8 by 9¼ is what you want to write down. And I use this really pretty hunter green embossed cardstock. And then I use these 2 patterns from the paper pad, from the Holiday Homestead paper pad. All right, and then once you do that, you're going to use your scoring feature and score them all in half, which is at 4 inches since it's 8 inches across. So you're going to end up with 3 pieces like this to make your booklet. This is kind of your cover, and these are your inside pages. So we're going to put the cover aside for just a minute, and we're going to work on the inside pages, and we're going to make tabs for these guys so that you can have your little interactive kind of booklet going on your card. So let's make some room here. All right, so let me show you how to make these tabs. So normally what you would do, well, let me tell you about this tab punch first of all. So this is the tab punch, and you've got small, medium, and large guides so that you can make small, medium, and large tabs. Normally what you would do is you would line your corner up right here. There's a guide right here. But I want my tabs to start a little further down than right at the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my paper over above the guide and I'm going to line it up right to the edge of this punch here. Okay, so that gives me like about 1/4 inch down is where my tab is going to start. Okay, and then you're going to use that, you're going to flip it over, and there you're going to line that up on whichever size tab you want. I want to make a large tab, so I'm going to line that up on the large guide and then punch. All right, so I've got that there, and then I'm going to make a tab on the opposite edge here, and that's going to be right next to my it's going to start right next to the end of this tab. So I'm going to place that right there into the guide. So that's where my tab is starting. And then I'm going to flip this over, line up that edge on the large again, the large guide, and punch. Okay. So now what you're going to do is take it over to your cutting feature, and you're going to cut off the excess. And the nice thing about this blade is it's got a guideline right here that shows you exactly where the blade is going to start cutting. So you can line that line up exactly at the bottom of this notch here that you punched previously. All right, hopefully that you can see that and that makes sense. So you're just cutting off the excess, and there's your tab. Okay, so there's one. Now let me do the second one. And I love that We Are Memory Keepers thinks of all these little details, like putting an alignment guide on the blade so you know exactly where the blade's going to start cutting. You know, I just think that's genius, and crafters really appreciate that. I think the attention to detail. Okay, so there are our two tabs. Now, if you want to decorate this side, you could add, cut out a little pattern paper and add that to there to kind of decorate it, or put a label on there or a sticker or something, to decorate it if you want. But there's that. So now let's do the second one. And the second one, the idea is we're going to have 4 tabs right next to each other. So we've gone and done the top 2. Now we're going to do the bottom 2 with this paper. So we're going to start on the opposite end. So I'm going to flip this over. And again, instead of lining it up right in the corner there, I'm going to go just a little bit past and line the end of the paper up with the end of this punch. Punch, flip it over, go to the large guide and punch. And then same thing, I want my next tab to start right here. So I'm just going to place that right in there. You could use a pencil if you want to. Oh, you know what? Darn it, I did that wrong. That's got to go this way. All right, so repunch. Here we go. Since I'm going to be cutting off this excess here, I'm going to punch over there just a little bit. So this will be slightly off center, but that's okay. All right, now I flip this over and punch there. So let me just clarify, when you are doing this, you're going to punch this one first. Okay, so we already did that. We started here, flipped over here. And then when you go to punch your next one, you're going to flip this over before you punch, okay, so that you get it the right way. Just want to clarify that. So, all right, let me cut off the excess, and then we'll put everything together and make our booklet. All right. And let me cut this side, and then we are good to go. And honestly, this tab making feature is super helpful. Like if you like to make storage for your stamps or for your stickers or embellishments or scraps or whatever, this is a great way to do it. Okay, so there we go. We've got the tabs. Now this is obviously, like I said, a little bit off center, but you are going to do that perfectly when you make your card, and it's going to turn out like this. So you've got, so you can have them this way, you can have them the other way, as long as there's 4 tabs there, you're good to go. All right, so we've got those there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the cover, we're going to put that on as well and stack them up nice and tight. All right, and then we're going to punch some holes with the Crop-a-Dile. Whoops, that came. Okay, so Crop-a-Dile, we're going to do the same size, 3/16, and we're going to use that score line to center. Actually, let me move this. We want a 1/2 inch for sure on this. So I'm moving my guide here to 1/2 inch deep, and that way my holes will both be 1/2 inch deep. And I'm just centering that hole because I can see right through that little guide there, and I'm centering that score line in the hole. And then let me just, before I punch, make sure these are all lined up just right. And center that score line in your guide there, and then punch. All right, so now we've got some of that pretty twine. It's got gold infused in it. And this is probably more like 2.5 feet of twine. So cut yourself about 2.5 feet of twine, and then we're going to put one end in the bottom hole, one end in the top hole. And we're only going to go around one time. We're not going to double wrap this one. And we're going to pull these so they're pretty much even. And the reason why we're not going to put eyelets here is because of the fold, because it wouldn't be able to fold if you had the eyelets there. But so you're just going to need to be a little bit careful when you're pulling that you don't pull and tear. And we're going to tie this bow right in the center here. And you want it to be tight enough that, you know, it keeps things secure, but not so tight that you're pulling or tearing or anything. All right, so there's your binding. You can cut that if you want a little bit. And then let's talk about decorating the cover. So now that we've got this ready to go, we've got all of our pages in there. And again, you could decorate these and add, you know, some extra pattern paper in there and some scraps in there and some pretty things. But we're just going to show you how to do the cover for this class. All right, so let me look at my measurements here. Okay, so for the cover, I used the following papers. Hang on, let's see if I can get this. I used wax paper thinking, oh, that'll come right off. And I think it was on there for too long. This has been sitting here for a couple of weeks. All right, if you use wax paper and it's only on there for like a day, it usually works fine. But this was, I set this up like way ahead of time. And that glue just set, or the tape set, and now my wax paper is stuck. So there's a little tip for you. Don't leave wax paper on your tape for more than a day or so. All right, that's good enough. Okay, so here's the idea. You're gonna use this pretty red and black buffalo check, this green and white and red plaid, and then you're gonna use this pretty green plaid. It's kind of like a monochromatic plaid. All right, and this red buffalo check, here are the measurements for that. That's gonna be 3 1/4 by 8 1/2. All right, so if you want to jot that down, 3 1/4 by 8 1/2. And then your green, red, and white plaid paper right there, that's going to be 2 1/4 by 7. So write down 2 1/4 by 7 for the green, white, and red plaid. And then your green plaid, this monochromatic one, is 1 1/2 by 9 1/4. So that's going to run the whole length of your cover from top to bottom. That one. So 1 1/2 by 9 1/4. All right. And then you're just going to layer them up kind of like this, with they're slightly over to the left side. And this is a little higher up off, maybe like an inch and 1/4 up off of the bottom of the red. And then you've got a 1/2 inch of the green hanging off of each end of the red. Okay. So, and then we're just going to place that down, lining up the top of the green with the top of the card and the bottom with the bottom, and then making sure that red is got like an even border around on all sides. And that's what it's going to end up looking like. All right, there's your layer. I love to use layering on cards because it really doesn't cost much. It's just paper scraps, right? But it adds such a nice look and dimension and just a really pretty feel to it. So layering on cards is awesome. All right, next we're going to take this tag from one of the cutout papers in the paper pad. This is the Happy Holidays tag, and you just trim around. It's already printed for you, and you just have to trim around with some scissors. And then I added an eyelet with my Crop-a-Dile, and I added some twine at the top. Okay, and then we're going to add that on with some double-sided tape. Oops, let me open that up. All right, and that is going to kind of balance out this left area here that's kind of justified towards the left, and we're going to go just a teeny bit off the edge of the red, just about like that. So that's going to kind of counterbalance the weight on the left. All right, and then we're going to take some of this darling Christmas truck washi tape that I absolutely love, and we're just going to kind of tear a piece that goes just a little wider than the tag. And just kind of put that down here again for a little bit of grounding at the bottom there. All right, and that is our cover. So that's what you're going to do with your cover. And then let me just show you what I did on the inside here. And this is not complete. I would definitely go a little further with some photos, maybe some more pattern paper, unless you wanted to just write. If you really wanted to just write inside here, have your kids draw pictures for grandma and grandpa, you know, whatever it is you want to fill this up with, photos, you know, anything you can put in here. Again, you can add little pockets like we did earlier and put a gift card or check or money or something. So that's just a really fun slimline card that you can send, and it's more interactive and just almost like a gift for your recipient. All right, let me check questions before we move on to the next. Okay, so there's a question, 2.5 or 2.25. Hold on, let's go back. I have 2.5 by 7. Is that you were wondering that strip? That's the red. Is that the red strip? Nope, that's the green, right? Oh no, that's the green, red, and white. Okay, the green, red, and white plaid. Is that what you were asking about? Is 2.5, not 2.25. Okay, let's see what else. Okay. Approximate size of the tag, please. Okay, the tag size is, let's see. The tag size looks like it's about 3 by 5. Maybe just a hair. Yeah, it's 3 by 5. The tag size is 3 by 5. All right. Okay, any other questions?
Hi, it's Bianca. I saw that some people went to see how you aligned the notches on the envelope. Again.
Okay, let me grab. Let's see. I'm going to grab a scrap of paper. And we'll do that one more time. All right. So this is obviously not going to be cut to the same size as the papers that you're using, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you how that works. So normally you would align it right on this corner here. It just slides right in against that corner. But for this project, to get the tabs to start 1/4 inch below the top of the paper, you just line up this top edge at the edge of this punch right here. So you can see how that's coming out right there, right? And you're just going to make sure that it's right there. Then you're going to punch, and you're going to see there's a notch right there that you punched. Hopefully you can see that. And that goes right here on the guide. There's a large, medium, and small, and you'll see it when you've got your tool, large, medium, and small. And I just lined it up on the large guide. It's the exact shape of the punch you just punched. So you just line it up there, punch again, okay? And then if you're folding it in half, okay, let's do this. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take this and use this kind of as your guide. You can use a pencil, or I'm just going to use my fingernail and mark where that notch is right there on the other side of your paper. And that's where you're going to start, okay? And flip it over, and you're just going to line that line that I just made with my fingernail in there and punch. And then flip it over and punch. Once you've aligned that on the large. So hopefully that helps. And that way you've got two tabs. After you cut that excess away, you've got 2 tabs that sit right next to each other that way. Okay. So hopefully that helps. If that's too confusing, you can message me. If you go to back to the class description on the website, my website is there. And you can message me on, or leave a message on there, or alliedosdell@gmail.com, or look me up on Instagram, Allie Dosdell, or Facebook, Allie Dosdell, and you can private message me if you have questions about that. All right, so let's go on to the next card, which is the gift tags. So this is the next one. It features 3 cute little gift tags in the background with a nice little ornament that's our sentiment on the front. So we start this card with the cardstock. Hang on a second, let me grab my pieces real quick. Okay. So let's clear off some space here. All righty. So we start this card off with the card base. This is an A2 card base. So that means that your measurements here are going to be 8.5 across and 5.5 tall, okay? Or you could cut it this way. Either way, it doesn't matter. You could cut 5.5 across and 8.5 tall. With this cardstock, it doesn't matter. If you choose to use a print that has a specific orientation, like there's little Santas on it or something, and you need it to be the right way, the card is going to end up this way. So it'll open at the bottom like this, okay? So if you do have a pattern that you need to keep in the right direction, cut it this way, which is 5.5 at the top and 8.5 on the side, okay? Then you're going to score at 4.25 and fold, and there's your card base. All right, so this ends up being 5.5 across and 4.25 tall, okay? So you can see what it looks like in the end. All right, okay, so once we've done that, we're going to grab 3 different strips of paper, and you're going to cut 3 different pattern papers from the paper pad to these measurements right here. So we've got the 2 by 3.5, okay? 3 different patterns, and you're going to cut to 2 by 3.5. Those are going to be your 3 tags. So mark that down on a piece of paper somewhere, 2 by 3.5, and you need 3 of those. All right, I went ahead and used this pretty green, like these pine needles. This one from our second card, the scrap of that, and then this pretty holly berry with a white background. I've already made these into tags, and I'll show you how to make the tags with this one. So let's go ahead and get the tool and this guide here. All right, and you're going to see up here at the top, there's the tag arrow. And if you turn it over, there are tag instructions right here. So we're going to line the tag arrow up on the guide with the tag arrow on the base and just put that there. Now there is no magic number or place where you put your tag to get a certain look. It's really just going to depend on what you want your tag to look like, whether you like shallow angles or deeper angles. So it really depends on your preference. And the trick to that is moving this. So this is the side of your tag. And you're going to line that up on the guide here, and you're just going to move it back and forth and see where you want your angles to be cut along this cut line right here. Now I've figured out that I really like when I line these tags up at the 1 inch line. So the reason I'm telling you that is because when you flip it over to do the other side, you're going to want to remember 1 inch. Okay, so we're just going to hold that, go down and slice that corner off, and then flip it over. And the nice thing is on this guide is there are little extension lines that come out so that you can line that up. Even though you just cut off your corner, you can still see where that is supposed to be lined up, which is really cool. Again, the details that We Are Memory Keepers thinks of always impresses me. Okay, so there's my tag. And then we've got the tag punch right here. This is where you punch your hole. And there's a centering feature. So you've got like measurements here all the way up to 3 inches. Now you can cut a tag bigger than that. You just won't have this centering measurement here. But since this is a 2-inch tag, we're going to line it up on the 2 and the 2 on either side so that it's perfectly centered. And then we're going to punch that hole. And that is a 3/16 inch hole. So that fits our eyelets perfectly. So we're going to push our eyelet down in there. Now, if you wanted to, you could totally use the Crop-a-Dile to punch that hole. The nice thing with this tool is it's got the centering feature. So for tags, I like to do that. So Then we're going to take that notch at the top there and put it down into the eyelet and then just squeeze, okay? And your eyelet is perfectly set. Let me just, I don't think I mentioned before the settings that you would use for these 3/8 inch, 3/16 inch eyelets. So these are standard eyelets and they're 3/16 of an inch. Sorry, they're, yes, 3/16 of an inch. So for these eyelets, you're going to set your cubes to letter B on the top and number 4 on the bottom. Okay, so B and 4. That's just for your information. Okay, all right. So we've got that. Then we're going to take a little piece of twine. I think this is maybe 8 inches. Let me double check on that and make sure that is correct. So you know how much to cut. 10 inches. I was short too. Okay, so 10 inches of twine. And then we're just going to go through and tie, we're just going to tie it in a bow. Get it right in the center there and tie it in a pretty bow. We're going to kind of try to keep the bow on the front. So we'll tie that knot there on the front. And if you don't want to have this tied in a bow, you could do it a different way, you know, like we did on the other tag. It's really up to you. And then you just sort of manipulate that a little bit until it centers and it's even, and there you go. All right, so now we've got 3 of these, again with my wax paper. Hopefully that comes off a little more easily this time. Yep, there we go. Okay. And the reason I do that is because I didn't want to take the time to put adhesive on, but now I've taken time to pull that off and it's probably about the same. Okay, so before we put the tags on, we're going to grab some of this cute little Christmas truck washi tape, and we're going to put a strip of it across the bottom of this card front or the card base. So I'm going to pull it just a little bit longer than the card and put that down right at the bottom. And then we're just going to take some scissors and cut that excess off. And I like to flip it over when I cut it off so I can see where the edge of my card is, so I don't cut the card accidentally. All right, I'll throw that in the trash. Okay, so now we are ready to assemble everything. So these tags, I put this pine needle one kind of in the center, and it's going to be a little bit higher than the others. And then I slide these kind of in behind. Oh, this one actually I want on this side. Let's put that, and those are going to be just a little bit lower and kind of angled a little bit outward to give it a little bit of movement. Let me lower that a little bit more so it's even. Okay, and then I'll put some tape on this center one and we'll stick that in the middle. And when you angle elements on your cards, that's a really great way to add some movement to the card. And that's not always going to work with every design, you know, but it does work with some designs, and it kind of adds a little bit of fun. All right, so there's those 3. And then we've got this cute little sentiment. This is one of the tags, and it actually comes out as a square, but I wanted to cut out the ornament shape so I get the ornament shape, the round shape as well. And then I've got this on pop dots, and let's see if I can get my wax paper off without doing too much damage. There we go. All right, and so that's ready to go, and that just goes right in the middle, right there, centered, and there's your happy holidays, and there's your 3rd card. Okay, so that's a fun one to send, and you can write a nice note inside to your loved ones. All right, so let me look through the questions. Will the tab punch go through cardstock? Yes, it absolutely goes right through cardstock. Not a problem at all. Let me look back and see if I can see any other. Oops, it doesn't want to do that for me. Let's see. Sorry. Oh my gosh, my laptop's being difficult. All right, any other questions? How much is the tool? Oh, you know, I think it's I think it's 35-ish. Oh, sorry. Which one? The Crop-a-Dile or well, I'll tell you. The Crop-a-Dile, I think, is usually 35-ish. I could be wrong, could be off by a few dollars. It might be a little more. And this one I want to say is 69, 79. It might have even been on sale right now. Anyway, so great deal though, because if you add up all the tools that you're actually getting, because we actually make all these tools separately. If you add up all of those, you are saving hundreds of dollars, you guys. So this is a great investment. I think it's 60 or 70, so something like that. Okay. Oh, thank you. $69.99. Okay. All right, let's move on. Next card. Let's see where we're at on time. Oh, we're gonna have to hustle through this. Okay. All right, this is the next one. This is our cute little banner card. Okay, and this one's a pretty easy one to make. So let me pull up my pieces. And we'll do that one. All right, so the card base for this is a 6x6 card, which is kind of fun. And, you know, generally you might look at a 6x6 card and go, okay, I can't send that to anybody. How am I supposed to, you know, put that in an envelope? But guess what, guys? That's what this is for. You can totally make your own 6x6 envelope. Okay, so 6x6 card. And this is a really cute kind of shiplap wood grain paper. I cut it this way, 6 across and 12 down. I think I have that right here if you want to write that down. 6x12. All right, so take a note of that. And then you're going to score at 6 inches and fold it this way so that it opens them from the bottom. Okay, so there's your card base. And then we're going to make the banners. So you're going to cut 3 squares that are 3 by 3 inches. Okay, let me show you that measurement. So I cut 3. I did 2 of this cute little polka dot, the red polka dot, and then 1 of this pretty Christmas tree with the snowflakes. And they're all 3 inches by 3 inches, 3 by 3 squares. So you're going to need 3 of those. I've got my other 2 already cut into banners, but I saved this one so I can show you how to make banners. And that is, again, pretty easy. So you're going to bring back your magic guide again. And you've got your banner chart, banner instructions back here. And I chose the smallest size, 3-inch banner. Now the measurement that you're getting, the 3 inches, is actually how tall your banner is going to end up being. Okay, so it's going to be a 3-inch tall banner. It tells me to cut my paper to 3 by 3, and then it tells me to align my paper at 1 1/8 inch on the guide. So banner arrow here, and this is going to tilt your guide a little bit, so it's a deeper angle. And then what you want to do is determine where the top of your banner is, okay, because my Christmas trees are going this way. This is the top, and that is the part that's going to line up on the alignment guide. The top of your banner goes right here. So I need to align my corner here at 1 1/8 inch. And then I'm just going to slice, flip it over, and you're just going to line it up at the exact same spot, 1 1/8 inch. And slice, and there is your lovely banner. Okay, and so I've done that 3 times, and I'm going to add that washi tape to the top of the banner. Again, that just kind of gives it a little more emphasis, a little more pop. If I can find the end of that, there we go. All right, and then I'm going to use my scissors and cut the excess off of that. See, that's just right at the top there. And my scissors are here. Again, I like to flip it over and cut so I can see exactly where the edge of the paper is. So it's nice and even. Okay, and then, all right, let me move my tool out of the way and we'll put this card together. We'll assemble the card. Okay. Where did my base go? There it is. All righty, so first we're going to tape the banners down. And what I did is I put the Christmas trees in the middle and the polka dots on the side. And I'm sort of going to put them at an angle. So it looks like, again, we're creating motion on the card. And this sort of looks like there's a banner hanging, kind of swinging across my card, I guess you could say. So I'm going to do 2 sides first. I can get that middle one on top of them. Before I really push those down, let me just make sure that's what I want it to look like. Yeah, that's good. Okay, and then this one goes in the center. All right, okay, so now to add this bow, this yarn up here that looks like it's holding that banner up, we're going to use the liquid glue, and I did unclog it. So it should work. And you're just going to put a thin layer of glue. Okay, I thought I unclogged it. Give me a sec. Let me get my scissors. Let's see what I can do here. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Oh, yep, hang on. A little bit of a mess there. All right. Here we go. Thin ribbon right across the top of the banners. And that is where your yarn is going to go. You're just going to put that across and kind of press it in to the glue. And you want to make sure you don't put too much there so that it kind of soaks through or makes a mess or anything. So just a teeny thin ribbon. We've got that glued down, and then let me grab my other scissors and we're going to cut off the excess on the ends. All right, and then what I did is I used the bow making feature, which I've already showed you, and I made 2 single loop bows, and those are going to go at each end. This is right on top of this yarn. We're just going to put a little dot of glue and put the knot of the bow right on that dot of glue on the yarn. One over here. Whoops. Hold that for a second so it stays put. You could totally use hot glue for this as well, if you want to do that. Glue dots for these bows would also work well. So they're clear little dots of glue, double-sided glue that you could use. I would use the small ones for sure, since this is such a small knot, so it doesn't show through. I'm just going to hold that for a second so it sticks into that glue. All right, so there's that. And then for the bottom, what I did is I took this tag, cut it out, and then I'm actually going to cut this tag apart. I cut out the word Christmas and the word wishes just right along, you know, as tightly as I could. Okay, and that so that we can use that as our sentiment. And so that's going to be part of our sentiment. And then I also cut, let's see, a little strip here. Let me see if I can tell you. Where did my, you know, I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, we'll just measure it real quick. So this is 3 inches long and it's 1 inch. So 1 inch tall, 3 inches wide. And then I just cut a V in, and this is a scrap from a previous card with that cute little Christmas tree and snowflakes. All right, and that's going to go on the card, oh, probably a ½ inch above the edge here and right against the side. And then I took this polka dot. This is a scrap of the polka dot, and this is a 1/4 inch. And I just made sure that I cut the polka dots in a nice straight line. And then I think this is 3.5. Yeah, this is 3.5 inches. And then I cut a little angle right there. And I'm going to have to use my liquid glue for this one because it's pretty skinny. And again, not too much, just a little bit. There we go. That might be a bit much. All right, there we go. And we're going to just put that underneath this green that we already put down, the Christmas tree paper. Okay, now we're ready to layer on the sentiment. And Christmas goes up here about halfway above the green, maybe just a little bit lower since we've got that banner coming down. So it doesn't go into the banner. Right about there, and then wishes. All right, and there's that card. So that's a lot of fun. Again, you can make a 6x6 envelope to match that size card. All right, let me take a quick peek. Okay, oh, I love that you guys are sharing your favorite tape. That's great. All right, any questions that I'm not seeing? I saw some tape gun. I saw some questions between you all. Okay. All right, let's go on since we're kind of running out of time. This is our last one. We're using paper scraps to make a Christmas tree, adding a pom-pom and a bow. All right, so let me grab my little pieces here, my step outs, so we can put this together. Okay. I love to use paper scraps. This is a great way to use paper scraps. I'm sure you guys probably have plenty of them sitting around too, and appreciate ways to use up those paper scraps. So this is a paper scrap card. Okay, so our card base is again this pretty snowflake with the glitter. Okay, and here's the measurement. Sorry, I have 3 kids home and a dog, so if you hear any loud talking or anything, those are my kiddos. Okay, so this is 10 by 7. So you're going to go 10 across, 7 down. Okay, and this card will be scored in the middle at 5 inches. Here's again 10 by 7. So jot that down, score at 5 inches, and that will make your card 5 by 7. And that means that you can add a pretty Christmas card in there. If you're printing a 5 by 7 Christmas card, you can add your Christmas card in there. So that's kind of nice. All right, so once we've got that done, I'm going to show you the measurements for all the strips that you need to cut to make this Christmas tree. You're going to cut 5 different strips. And I just used scraps, and I kind of kept within the green, mostly green theme, because it's a Christmas tree. And you can totally change these up. You don't have to use exactly the ones that I did, but let me get these measurements for you. Make sure I've got them in the right order. Yes. Okay. All right. So the top one is 1.5 across by 1 inch tall. These are all 1 inch tall strips. Okay, so you're going to have 1.5 by 1 for the top, and I used the Christmas tree and snowflake paper. And then the next measurement for the second strip is 2.25 by 1. So this strip is 2.25, and this is the green and white and red plaid from a previous card. All right, and then we've got this nice monochromatic green plaid, and that is 3 inches by 1 inch. Hopefully you can see that. Sorry, trying to make sure you can see that. 3 by 1, okay. And then this is the holly berry that we used on one of the cards, and this is going to be 3 3/4 by 1. Okay. And the last one is this pretty pine needle pattern, and this is 4.5 by 1. Okay, hopefully you can see that, 4.5 by 1, and that's the pine needle. So let's go ahead and assemble that. Oh, and the last scrap is part of the red embossed cardstock, and that is a 1 by 1 inch square. So if you have a 1 inch square punch, you can go ahead and just punch that sucker out. That'd make it really easy. All right, so 1 by 1 for the base of the tree. So let's assemble our tree. And what I like to do is I like to start with the base with the red cardstock at the bottom, because that kind of makes sure that I get everything correct. Now, what I do is I use my cutting mat here, my guide. And so I've got the 5 inches here across, and I line it up so that it's 5 inches across. And then I find where the 2.5 is, and I just center my base, because I know it's 1 inch, right there. And it's maybe 1/4 inch up from the edge. Okay, so 1/4 inch above the paper edge here, and just centered right in the middle there. Right, and once I've got that, then everything else is going to be just fine. Right, we can eyeball everything else. And here we go with my wax paper again. All right, that could have been worse. Okay, so this is our bottom strip, and I can just kind of eyeball the ends to make sure it's centered. And then we're just going to build up from there. I honestly love this. You can do this with washi tape to make a Christmas tree, there's a lot of fun options for this design. Well, almost. Okay. There we go. All right. And then again, we're just going to kind of eyeball that, make sure it's somewhat centered. Now, if again, we talked about movement and angling your elements on your card. If you want to have kind of a more quirky looking Christmas tree, you could totally angle these, you know, in different ways as you go up. And that would be kind of fun as well, depending on the style that you want to create on your card. All right. We're getting there. Almost done. Get that in the center. And then this last one, I don't think it has adhesive on it yet. So I need my double-sided tape. Okay. All right. So there's the Christmas tree. And then let me just show you really quick how to put the sentiment on, and then we'll do the bow and the pom-pom last. So this is, again, one of the pieces you can cut out a label or a tag from one of the sheets in your paper pad. And what I did is I trimmed it down and then I layered some of that cardstock. And let me give you the measurements for that so you know exactly how big this is going to be. So the red cardstock underneath, that's the matte. I cut that to 2 1/4 by 2 1/8. There we go. Can you see that? Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. 2 1/4 by 2 1/8. Okay, and then I rounded the corners using the punch on the tool. And then this tag, I trimmed that down a little bit and it ends up being about 2 inches by 1 7/8. Okay, and then I rounded the corners on the punch on the tool. All right, so that's our sentiment. And then I put pop dots on the back, and that's going to go kind of, I centered it in these 3 bottom strips here. And just added it kind of like that. Okay, so once we've got that, we are ready to make our pom-pom. Okay, guys, this is really fun. I'm excited to show you this. Okay, so we're going to pull the pegs out again. And this is going to be a really small pom-pom. So I'm only going to have 1 hole in between these 2. So then we're going to take our yarn and I'm just going to unravel like a whole bunch. And you can kind of unravel as you go as well, but I find it easier to unravel some ahead of time without getting it tangled up. All right, and here's the trick with a pom-pom. The more, hold on a second, the more yarn you add, the thicker and fuller your pom-pom is going to be. All right, so it's really up to you. If you like kind of more of a rustic, raggedy kind of looking pom-pom, I don't know how to really describe it. It's a little less full, then that's what you want to go for. You want to put a little less of the yarn. If you want to go for a more full, thick, really round pom-pom, then you're going to want to just keep layering that yarn around and around and around. And you're trying not to pull too hard so it doesn't pull those pegs in real tight. But you know, you don't want it to be really loose. So I'm just going to keep going here. And you're going to want to leave a little bit of an end like that. Now, I would probably even do more. Like I'm just going to do a little bit more here to get that even fuller. All right. I probably would do even more than that if I weren't pressed for time, but we're going to call that good. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut a piece, maybe 8 or 10 inches, and you're going to weave that through the two pegs and center it, and then come up and tie it in a nice square knot, right over left, left over right. And you really want to try to get this as tight as you can without breaking it, because that's going to help your pom-pom be even fuller and stay together longer. Okay, if you don't tie it really tight in the middle here, your pom-pom will start coming apart. All right, so got that, and then we're going to pull that off the pegs and get those pegs out of the way. And then here's what we do, is we're going to take some really good sharp scissors. I recommend using fabric scissors that are nice and sharp. And then we're just going to cut through all of those loops. Just cut them apart. Okay, let me make sure I got all of those. Yep, okay, and then the other side too. I'm going to cut those loops all apart. I missed a few. And a few more. And one there, and a couple there. Okay, so once you make sure you've got all those loops cut, oops, run right there. Any more? Okay, you've got them all. I'll find a little one somewhere. Okay, I think I've got them all. Yes. Okay, so then what I'd like to do is obviously trim off those long pieces, and then I sort of go like this in my hand, and that sort of helps you to see how the pom-pom's gonna look. And then you just start shaving this guy. He's gonna get a really, really short haircut. Okay, and honestly, the tighter you shave this guy, the fuller and the nicer your pom-pom's gonna look. Okay, so you're gonna cut quite a bit off of here. I like to kind of go around the center first, and then I kind of start going up and around to make it round. All right, and this just takes a little while, but be patient because it's so worth it in the end, and it's gonna look awesome. You're just gonna keep cutting and get it round. And let me see, did I don't think I did one ahead of time. So I'm not gonna take time to cut this all the way down because it takes a little while, but you can get the idea. Let me just show you on the card how that ends up looking. So it's a nice full pom-pom. Now let me show you a quick trick of how to attach that pom-pom to your card. Okay, so let's pretend like I trimmed this all the way down and it's nice and tight like that one. What you're gonna do is you're gonna take one side and just trim it so it's flat. You're gonna trim that side so that it's nice and flat. I don't know if you can see that, but now we've got a straight edge, and that's where you're gonna put your glue and cover that with glue, and then you're going to put that down, and it's going to sit nicely on your card so that it's nice and flat on the top. Okay, and then the last thing you're going to do is make another double bow and just glue that right underneath your pom-pom for your tree. So there's the idea. Hopefully that helps you guys with some inspiration for cards. Let me see. There any questions? Yes, any of these techniques would transfer wonderfully to scrapbooks, to journaling, to planners. This is great if you like to do your own party decorations, your own celebration decorations. This is a great tool to have as well. This is great for scrapbooking, card making, gifting, home decor, whatever. Honestly, you can use this tool for so much. Okay, thanks you guys so much. I'm gonna let you go. It's Friday night and I want you to go have a good time making cards. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you guys a happy and safe holidays. Reach out to your loved ones with these cards in the mail. It's gonna make such a difference in their lives right now. A lot of us are, alone and struggling and just need to know that someone's out there. So send these to your loved ones and to people who might need a little pick-me-up. And thanks so much, you guys. Have a great weekend and take care. Bye-bye.